muted because somebody tried to call me, and that might have been it. I don't know. I think that's what it was. Somebody tried to call me, and I spoke to them on for a second, and when I spoke to them, that cut my mic off to this app. So that's what I think is what happened, and hopefully you guys see that I came back, and I will continue the thoughts about the face, which I don't know how much you guys heard, but let me know if you do hear this question in the chat. Then just let me know how soon or how long, how much of the conversation you guys heard, because it's something I really wanted to talk about today, because I was hoping maybe somebody has some answers about it, and it's like been bugging me sometimes when I think about it, and when I really think about it, I just have to stop thinking about it, because it's just one of those kind of thoughts. What's up, brother? Good morning. How you doing, man? Yeah, I was just streaming before, and I was just streaming before, and somebody called me, so I think that cut off the mic. I don't know. Were you here before when I was streaming just like 5 minutes ago, and then I just started a new stream? Anyway, good morning to you. It's Monday morning, August 25th at 6:05 a.m. in the year 2568 in the Buddhist calendar, and in the Gregorian calendar 2025, excuse me. Anyway, okay. All right, yeah, well, we were talking about some different things. And I was talking about like this topic that's been bothering me, and the topic is that of the face, you know. So, like, you know, when you start thinking about what a face is, and like we're going, so, and it started with pareidolia, right? And you know what pareidolia is? I forgot the word. Thank goodness, Balding. Mr. Balding wrote it for me, because I I forgot it, but it's one of those words that you just, you know, and then like for some reason, you know, it doesn't come out. But anyway, so it started with pareidolia, and then it goes to facial recognition, and then like here's the thing. So you see your face, and you look in the mirror, and when you look in the mirror, you see your face, and you either, well, you get some sort of a feeling like, oh, you get a nice feeling. Sometimes maybe you get a bad feeling, or maybe you feel like you gotta, you know, do something like shave, or if you're a woman, put on some makeup, or if you're a guy, maybe you want to put on some makeup too. I don't know, whatever you want to do. But the thing is, you look at your face, and you have a reaction. Like there's like a chemical reaction inside your brain, right? And that reaction, all right, goes to Arun Sawat, yeah. Peace, sabay pal. Di mo, gang man. I got booty suit. My horn. So, here's the thing. So if you have children, you see your children like facial resemblance and stuff like that, and family members, etc. And you see somebody that you meet, and you remember their face, right? So it's like Xfinity says, "Hey, what's up? What's up, Xfinity? How you doing?" And then says, "Random request, but can you just jump? I want to see if this is actually live." Well, if you can hear me responding to your question, then you know it's live. And this big dog don't jump for anybody. Jump when I say jump. Are you crazy? Anyway, so it goes like, you know, the thing is like, you start recognizing people by their faces and stuff like that. So like that, so like the things you can distinguish by a face, do they smile? Smiling, you know, is something that, you know, in different cultures might not really mean a smile, right? I can't give you an exact example, but I've heard of it before or whatever. But, you know, they did a study like 75 years ago to find out if like if you could tell a murderer by looking at their face, or a criminal by looking at their face. There was this study, it was like 75 years ago, and their conclusion was that no, you can't I guess, I don't know. No, it's Thai, the Thai language. That's cool. Fantastic that you were hearing that. I've lived here for 25 years, so I wanted to make sure that I'm able to communicate with people in a place that I'm living. And I think this is a very important thing. And that's how I learned. I learned through a phonetic book called Sawadi Cup. And it wasn't that thick. Maybe it had like 20, 25 pages in it or something like that. But it was filled with phrases, to give, like the thing you buy at like the airport. And, so I started using that, and then I started building on top of that. It didn't have like the Thai alphabet or writing in it or anything like that. So it was more like just like a phonetic book, and that's how I learned Thai. And once I learned the phonetics, then I was able to build on that by meeting people, making friends, and being taught words by different people and stuff like that. And when you're in your 20s, you can still learn pretty quick, and that's sort of what I did. McNesh, what's up, brother? How you doing? Good morning. Glad to see you on this Monday morning at 6:13 a.m. in the year 2568, or the Gregorian calendar 2025. We're just talking about faces. So the thing is, they did the study of the faces. They realized they can't tell the difference. They can't tell. Obviously, we know that today because if you look at serial killers on YouTube or something like that, some of them look like they couldn't hurt a fly. And they're just the most terrible, horrible, despicable types of human beings ever. So it doesn't have anything to do with the face. So here's the thing is, what is a face? And why is a face so important? Do you consider your face as important as your fingerprint? So supposedly, your fingerprint, is almost only unique. I think there are cases with some people having the similar fingerprints and stuff like that. But the thing is that, so when you're born, you don't decide what face you have or anything like that. And then you look at other people, or you might look at like somebody you're sexually attracted to. Oh, wow, that's a pretty face, man. Something like that, So it's like, wow, a face. When I realized that a face wasn't anything that I thought it was. I thought a face was me, and a face on somebody else, that was them. But that really, really isn't, and that kind of bugs me out. It kind of it's sort of like weird, I never think about some people ever the same way. Like when I start thinking about that, you look at a face, I'm looking at a face. Wow, that's the nicest face in the world. That person couldn't hurt a fly. But you don't know. Or that person looks really mean. Maybe they're like a terrible person, but you don't know. You have no way of telling. Only that limited, superficial glimpse that you get through expression. Anyway, we are at what are the locals' reflections on your speaking abilities, and do they judge you? Let me get to that in a second. But first, I want to say, Mignish, this is the easy answer. I moved to Thailand over 25 years ago. I was born in Brooklyn, United States. Anyway, right now, here we are at our favorite Vista Point. And what we are doing right now is we are looking west. So if I walked straight this way, across this rice field, straight like a crow flies, I would get to the Golden Triangle. And then when I pass the Golden Triangle, I would then be climbing up some mountains into what is called the Shan State. And then passing the Shan State, going down the mountains, I would end up in what is now called Myanmar, or used to be called Burma. And I would be there, and I would be in the northern part. Not north enough, though. If I kept walking, I would go to Bangladesh. I'm just south enough where if I kept walking, I would end up in the Indian Ocean. So I don't recommend anybody just walking directly straight this way unless they're a very good swimmer. And next for the morning view is, good morning. For the morning view is we're going to look for the star of our show. And I hope you guys get that's a pun, what's called a pun, P-U-N, because the sun is a star, and the star of our show is a saying. Anyway, I don't see the sun, but it's an overcast day. It was raining hard all night. The temperature has cooled down quite a bit, which is nice. And this is facing east. And if I walked east from here, if I walked straight as the crow, I would run into a small city called Chiang Rai, right? And then from Chiang Rai, I would cross over into the Lao border, and then I'd be in Lao for a short period of time because it's one of the not a wide point. And I would then enter the semi-north part of Vietnam. And then if I continued walking east, I would end up in the Pacific Ocean. And if I was a really good swimmer, I could make it to Hawaii. Anyway, so that's just the gratitude that I like to express every single morning when I see the immensement of the sky. And I will say it, and I say it every day: there is no man on this planet alive, or woman, human being, that has enough money to buy this view. Elon Musk can't buy this view. I mean, there are not enough bars of gold in the universe to buy this view. And we get to enjoy it every single day. And thank you so much for having this. I thank whatever higher power there is that we are able to see this beautiful sky and enjoy it and enjoy its life-giving, because it gives us life. Everything around us gives us life. Some things take life, but most of the things around us make life possible. So give thanks for that. And then I want to get back to the question Xfinity had. So what are the locals' reactions to you speaking abilities, and do they judge you? Well, I'll say that many Thais who live in this village by now know that I can speak a little bit of Thai, right? So, and they're very happy to speak with me. They're happy to teach me words I might not know. And also, but they're appreciative too, because Arun swa pa, Arun swa kunta, sabadi lupa. Di mากครับผมไปออกกำลังเหรอตลาดนู่นนะ Okay, bye bye. He speaks English. So anyway, so yeah. So what we were saying? We were saying oh yeah. So some of the locals, well, that old man, he wanted to speak English with me. I've never met him before, but a lot of locals, their reaction is like they're very happy that a foreigner takes the time to try to learn their language to communicate with them. Now, a lot of people don't know that English is the second language of Thailand, although it's not really all that well taught and all that well used. And the reason for that was because King number 9 was an American citizen. A lot of people don't know that either. But he was born in Boston, and he became the ninth king of Thailand, and he was the longest reigning monarch in the world. I think even longer than Queen Elizabeth. I'm not sure. I can't. They were very close in their terms of reign and stuff like that. So anyway, so then you asked me, do they judge me? Well, I think that people would have to be more judgmental if I did not speak with them, or they did not speak with me. Right? They have to make a judgment. Is this person a crazy person or whatever, Are they nice? Do they look like they have money, or do they look like they're broke? Do they look educated? Do they look stupid? These are like the common things that people, generally do when they look at somebody. And it's not unique to Thailand. It's not unique to any place on this planet that has human beings. So, do they judge me? Well, you know, really, that's probably the extent of the judgment that would be made. I mean, sure, you have people who might judge other people because they are another race. Happens all over the world. Every place in the world you'll find this, I think. I'm not, maybe there's a few places, hopefully, but generally speaking, this is a common thing, and obviously this is a very small percentage of the population, of most populations. So, do they judge me? And the answer to this is yes, they do judge me. They judge me by the fact that I've been here for 25 years, and they judge me by my actions, what I have done. Was I an alcoholic? Was I a drug user? Was I a good man? Was I good to my wife and my family? These are the judgments that are given out. And so, yes, in those terms, they judge me. But then again, so does everybody, right? Wherever you live, this is going to happen. All right. So, Xfinity says, sorry for so many questions, but last question I wanted to ask is, what is your worst experience you had in Thailand that you've never forgotten? Wow. So, Xfinity, man, I appreciate all the questions that you ask, and I hope that you ask 1,000 more questions, And I have to think about that one for a second, because I've been here for 25 years and a lot of things have happened. Well, I'll tell you what my worst experience here in Thailand has been, and it's sort of runs parallel to 3 events. One, my best friend died of cirrhosis. All right, a Thai man, and I was trying to get the money for a liver transplant, and I couldn't get the money for the liver transplant. And then I watched him die, slowly. The cirrhosis is a terrible way to die. Then my father was murdered, right? But that's what I think he was. And an official report doesn't say that. You can look on Wikipedia. He's like a he was in his time a famous writer. His name is L.J. Davis, initial L, initial J, Davis, D-A-V-I-S. You can look him up on Wikipedia. And it's not too long of a read, but if you're interested, go check it out. I am certain he was murdered. But when he did die, I was in Thailand and he was in Brooklyn, and that was just maybe the worst day of my life, or one of the worst days of my life. I was so really broken up about that. I'd seen a lot of people killed before, I've seen people shot, stabbed, beaten to death, and stuff like that all my life. But when my father passed away, it really tore me up. And then a year later, and this is no joke, and I'll mention it, my mother was assisted suicide. So she had been suffering from some very, very severe physical pains. I don't know, I won't go into that detail too much because I'm not sure, and I'm kind of a suspicious person. So, but I will just say that she had an assisted suicide within a year after my father. So those 3 things all happened within the period of 2011 to 2013. And that was like the, kind of worst experience of my time being in Thailand. Seeing my friend die from cirrhosis, and not being there when my parents passed away. I felt very guilty that I had not. Good morning, Gumailu. Fantastic to see you, and thank you for joining us on this beautiful, wonderful, wonderful Monday morning on August 25th, the year 2025, in the Buddhist year of 2568, and it's very nice out. Anyway, so yeah, so that was Orunsuata. So that was like, that was like the worst feeling that I had in Thailand. Now, like granted, I've been like, I told a story yesterday about being in a room where somebody pulled out a pistol and was threatening somebody, you know, because they owed him money. And then like 3 months, and whatever, I ended up escaping. I'm not going to tell the story again now, but maybe later when I can tell it a little more freshly, on my mind. But I ended up, getting out of there. The guy ended up getting out of there, and then like 3 months later on the news, like you saw on the news that the guy who had been pointing the gun had already killed like 16 or 17 people, and he was wanted by Interpol. So that was like kind of a serious situation. But I don't know. I mean, I've had, like, if I've had other bad experiences, I would say that most of them were bad experiences of my creation, that I made the bad experience. I did bad things, or I did things that, weren't, just they weren't good. And it ended for bad consequences for me, terrible consequences for me, and terrible consequences for the and bad experiences for the people, for other people. So, but those weren't my worst experiences. Those were because I know what the causes of those experiences were, and I know that my behavior affected certain outcomes. So I totally take responsibility for that kind of thing. So I can't say that was my worst experience, So, all right. Then Xfinity says, sorry to hear about your friend, your father. I hope you had a time to cope with all that. I've had years to cope with it, But it's not, look, here's the thing. I still think about it. I went through the mourning process and everything like that. And like when other people have like their parents passing away and stuff like that, I know one thing: you can't give anybody any advice. They just got to go through it. There's nothing you could tell them. And you could tell them, I mean, it doesn't matter what you say to them. They have to go through it themselves. And everybody, unfortunately, if they make it that long, will go through that process. And it's probably the saddest thing that you can experience. So give your parents a hug or a kiss or be nice to them if you can. You won't always have that opportunity. So now Xfinity says, okay, didn't think that question through. Sorry if it made you a little sad inside. No, it didn't make me sad inside. Anything that I do or say I'm responsible for, So like it was a topic that I couldn't talk about, I wouldn't talk about it. I can talk about it now, but I'm no longer dictated by emotions that like anger and fury and hate and all these bad feelings, and then sorrow, of course. I'm still sad that they passed, but I know that they're in a better place, and I know that they are at rest because I have become, in the last 10 years or so, I've become more, I want to say spiritual, So like I believe in certain things, like a higher power, that, I know that my passing, they would not want me to be unhappy, So so you just gotta, once you go through your pain of passing or something like that, just know who was close to you, if they really liked you, they don't want you to suffer for the rest of your life and be unhappy. They want you to be happy. And that's what I think about it, And so I work hard every day to be happy. Some people work hard every day to be unhappy. Like I always say, it takes more effort to work to be happy than it does to be unhappy, because people who are unhappy and work at it, all you have to do is revolve thoughts around one thing. Just circle in a circle, like that. And that's all they can do. And they sit there and they're miserable and they want everybody around them to be miserable and stuff like that. Who wants to live like that? They could change it. Some people can't change it because they have serious mental neurological problems, you know. But you know, you can change the way you think, you know. So like, you know, I mean, all goes back to programming and stuff like that, you know. Like there are children who are programmed. Children are programmed every day. Every single child is programmed. They're programmed in different ways, different religions. And some of them do things that you would think are inhumane, for their religion. I'm not being specific. I'm being generally speaking, you know. So, you know, it's like the saying, like nobody's born a racist. Yeah, people only become racist, which is really like kind of a silly statement in a way. But I get the general idea. I mean, like, you know, I appreciate the general idea of it. But I think that if it was like the answer, then there wouldn't be any more racism, right? Because it's definitely not the answer, right? Because once the answer, it's sort of like we would supposedly have the threat of an alien coming to the planet, right? And that when it gets here, or if it gets here, if it is an alien or whatever, when that does arrive, I guarantee you everything human on this earth is going to stop, right? So, how did I get to that point? Anyway, about the racism thing, yeah. So, because, like, you know, if we think that the aliens are coming, like, you know, like some people say, 3-1 or 3L Atlas is a nuclear-powered intergalactic, intersolar thing, which apparently nobody can prove or disprove at this moment. People on Earth won't stop fighting wars until that thing, if it is a thing, actually gets here. Xfinity says, you have a lot of wisdom in you. That's great advice. I wouldn't be surprised if you were a book writer or something. I appreciate that. Well, I have done a bit of writing in my life. I used to do journalism a long time ago. I used to write journals. I still write journals. But if I can speak well, and if I have some good ideas, well, a lot of it has to do with the people around me, you know, and what I absorb from my environment. One of the things that I absorbed from my environment when I was a child was programming. My father was a writer. So as a little kid, you know, I'm hearing, and both my parents, they went to Stanford, like which is Ivy League college, and you know, they spoke perfect English, and in an English that's no longer commonly used in the United States anymore, no matter where you go. So I would have to mostly say I got it from my father. That, you know, when he would read out some of his essays and stuff like that, or he used to read to us as kids. You know, I remember that. And I would say that, you know, I was probably programmed this way. Xfinity says they aren't born a racist, true, but they are taught to be racist, not directly, but maybe observing others, other grown-ups, etc. Right, well, exactly. So that's one of the points, but it's not the only point, right? So, like, my sister is black, right? And my sister, I believe my sister murdered my father. But I'm white. Now, I don't hate black people. I have no problem with it. In fact, I've spent most of my life growing up in New York around, you know, the brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that was my whole life, all my friends and everything like that. So, that doesn't have any reflection for me. But if you talk to somebody who comes from an insular environment. That means like they have like an environment where they live with only the same kind of people. Maybe they're Hasidic Jews, or maybe they're white Nebraskans, or maybe they're somewhere in Africa, maybe they're somewhere in China, or whatever. And they live just there. And say a person of another nationality and look, skin color and facial and everything, different look, comes over there to that insular group and then murders one of their beloved people. That whole group, I guess you're going to call them racist, right? Because they're going to hate, that's their judgment. So it all comes down to judgment, how you make judgments, how people judge you, So I choose not to make any judgments of people by any look or their facial expression, because a face, what is a face? You're not even born with you don't get to choose your face. Your face is designed by the genetics that your parents brought down to you from the XY chromosomes and everything like that. You don't choose your face. You just happen to be wearing it. And it's a self-identification marker. Sometimes people fall in love with their own faces, and those people are called narcissists. Because they can't see past their face. So, but once you start seeing past people's faces and stuff like that, then it kind of gets trippy. Like it's kind of a trippy thing when you realize a face is not an individual. The individual is not the face. And that's where it gets kind of trippy and wild. And I'll just say one last thing before we're going to end this. I just have one last thing to say, unless anybody has something. Hey, what's up, Beer Bash? How you doing, brother? How's everything? Oh, good to see you. Hope you're doing very well on this morning. It is a wonderful morning on Monday, August 25th in the year 2025. Or if you're using the Buddhist calendar, it's the year 2568. And it's fantastic to see you. But, so, I was going to say that, how like one of the real you ever have an aha moment in your life and stuff like that? Well, I'll tell you, I had an aha moment in my life, and that aha moment was actually in New York, when people would talk to me and they didn't have the same accent as me. So I was like, automatically making judgments and stuff like that. And they're speaking English, But if that person came back, not came back. Later, I started thinking, well, when a person was talking to me, and it doesn't matter if it was like whatever accent it was, any accent, I would internalize the words, and then I would translate those words in English to say those words in my own language. And that's how I knew. So in doing that aha moment, what I did was I used to think that my father was terribly cruel, right? And like the things that he said were really cruel and mean and stuff like that. But then I started repeating what he was saying as if I was him saying them. And I realized that, 95% of the time I was just, misunderstanding, I guess that's what they call cognitive dissonance. Anyway, so when I started learning Thai, right, I just like transpose the words into my head. Like when I can, I do numbers in Thai, like I can do numbers in Thai, and I can stuff like that. Well, I can think, like I don't revert to English to think about to think about numbers or anything like that. But anyway, we have reached the end of the road for today, and I just want to say to everybody, you are loved and you are blessed, and this world loves you. And aside from that, man, I just hope every single one of you has a wonderful morning, a fantastic afternoon, and a good